Call center staffers explain to researchers how their AI assistants aren't very helpful. Recent research details how customer service reps at a Chinese utilities call center often struggled when trying to use an AI assistant and were forced to make manual fixes. Researchers affiliated with the Chinese power utility and several Chinese universities recently conducted a study of how customer service representatives at the power utilities call center use AI assistants during their interactions with customers. The study is based on 13 semi-structured interviews with service reps, including team leaders and shift supervisors responsible for handling phone inquiries. Okay, so what did they find? The AI assistant isn't that smart in reality, one survey respondent said. It gives phone numbers in bits and pieces, so I have to manually enter them. Another said the AI had trouble transcribing homophones, words that sound the same but have different spellings or meanings. So in the Chinese language, and there are a few languages across the world that operate this way, the sound of a word can represent a different meaning for that word, depending on context. Or it can even be spelled differently. There's, I'm going to probably botch it, but there's a very famous, yeah, I think it's very famous, at least it's famous to me. There's a way to say a particular sound in Chinese where you change the tone a bit and you can say the same sound, and it to Western ears it all sounds the same, but in Chinese you can structure an entire I think it's a poem or a sentence or something like that using just basically the same sound with just adjustments in tone. So there's a very distinct use of tone and context and all of that in the Chinese language. And so obviously AI is going to fail at this because it's not going to be able to discern all of this, right? So the transcription is, it's pretty bad. The AI's emotion recognition system worked poorly. It would misclassify normal speech as negative emotion, had too few categories for classification, and would treat volume level as a sign of poor attitude. As a result, reps mostly ignored the emotional tags created by the AI system and said they had no trouble understanding the caller's tone. The staffers also found that AI output created redundancies or required corrections. While reducing basic typing labor, AI-generated outputs introduced structural inefficiencies in information processing. Because most AI pre-filled content required manual correction or deletion. Text summaries of calls could be useful, but they often require editing or rewording. Transcriptions didn't necessarily include key information. And the learning burdens for the extra adaptation and correction massively outweighed any benefits that people had from these AI systems as part of their call center stuff. Then there's the emotional. And so this is something that people often forget. When somebody calls a call center service person and they make a human-centric case for why they need to have a particular type of assistance in something that they're doing, when you talk to another human, they can pick up on that, right? And so they can empathize or even sympathize with your state. An AI system cannot do that. So imagine you're calling a customer service rep. I just want you to picture this because this has happened, and I'm trying to track down the story, but I know this has happened. There was a time when someone was, there was a story I remember when someone had been, I believe it was either kidnapped or there was like a robbery going on or something along those lines. They were in extreme danger. And for some reason or another, they couldn't call the police. Instead, they called a customer service line and they pretended to be talking to somebody, like a legitimate reason to talk to this customer service person while there was something dangerous going on in the background. And this person managed to get the customer service rep to call 911 on their behalf while pretending to legitimately talk to them. And then the police showed up and, lives were saved. Now imagine that you have to do something like that. You're trying to be clever, you're trying to save lives, and you call up an AI customer service support. Do you think that AI customer service support is going to pick up on the fact that your life is in danger? What is the likelihood of that? Right. And so it's missing that human connection that people sometimes take for granted that exists. And we're going to find out real fast that AI can't do that. And so this Chinese customer support center, figured this out. They figured it out really fast. They can't discern stress. They don't have a sense. AI doesn't have a sense of stress, structure, etc. Right. So all of these things, as part of this study, clearly show that AI is nowhere near it has nowhere near the amount of capabilities that people claim it has. And this leads into the title. I swear, I'm leading up into the title.